shaking.
There you go. No, it's okay, man. Connor got to turn the roadcaster on for the first time. My fat fingers usually beat you to it. So when we were talking just about my website, which I don't care if anybody goes to, if you know my name, you can get to it. I set up a Substack account early 2022, so long before we started this, and I called it Storytelling on the Plains, and it was just my own stories.
Yeah.
And then somewhere toward the end of 2022, I stopped posting things there. I don't know why, just happened. But I made a decision this week. I want to start it back up and running, so I figured I'd, put my poetry, my prose poems, essays, that kind of stuff, just about my life on there, because you can monetize it. I haven't figured out how to do that yet, but I figured I would do that. And then I also took the step, you know how much I hate social media.
Uh-oh.
I created a Blue Sky account yesterday, 2 days ago, and I'm just going to post links to things that I've written. So like when I write a blog post, I'll put a link there. If I post on Substack, I'll put a link there. And then every time a podcast comes out, I'm like, what is this we're doing? I'll put a link there. And if people want to go and give me some money, I think like the lowest is $5, but I got to figure out how to do it. Because I think I'm finally at a point where, you want to read my stuff or you don't. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, okay, great, fine, whatever. I don't care. And I got to that place a long time ago with the podcast. I mean, before we even started it. As like, I know this stuff. I know this research. I know I won't have everything, and someone else is going to know more, like Jerry, which reminds me, he left me a message, and he would love to come back.
Yeah,
and
it was great having him.
And he asked me, he's like, what do you, what's your next episode? What do you want to do? And I said, you know what, Jerry, you can do anything as long as we haven't done an episode on something. Mm-hmm. Great. I told him Terry Carpenter's the only off one.
Yeah, I'm still working on him, man.
Yep.
It's going to be tough.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Like just the Battle of Blue Water Creek. Mm-hmm. I started putting some notes together on that. And then I got a book. I'm about a third of the way through the book. And just randomly, I happened to come across this Smithsonian's website. Really, really long article, and I think in the magazine it's about 13 pages long. I went everywhere in town here looking for Smithsonian magazine. Nobody carries it. So I spent way too much money on it. It's like $5 an issue, and I paid $13 for it on eBay. And I have the issue now, so I can read it properly. There's nothing wrong with reading online, but, I grew up with things in your hand. Mm-hmm. And I don't enjoy reading long articles online.
Yeah.
And I'm even prone to, if it's I'm reading The Atlantic online and it's, like a 10-page story, my dumbass cut and pastes it and then prints it up because it's just easier for me to read that way. Yeah. So I paid the money for the issue, and it's one of the descendants of one of the survivors, I believe, wrote the article. I haven't read it because I got about half a page through, and I was like, I'm not reading this online. This is too long. I want a copy in my hand. So the Battle of Blue Water is something I've wanted to do for like 2 months. It's one of those things I will do in my spare time because I want to do it right. And then when we publish it or do the podcast, someone will still find something else about it. And the same with Terry Carpenter. There is so much out there. You can do everything, but then even then you still have to condense it. I listen to Behind the Bastards, and right now they're doing Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh, fun.
And at one point, Robert, who's the the host was like, yeah, I wanted to get more into this, but then, this will be like 100-part podcast.
Yeah.
So you have to narrow things down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do.
And it's okay to do 3 or 4-part episodes, because now we're on part 3 of our ghost stories in the Panhandle. And if I had split the first episode up, it would have easily been a 4-parter. And you need to let me know too, Connor, if the double-sided scripts works, or if you want me to go back to single-sided.
No, double's fine.
Okay.
I mean, it's more efficient.
Yeah, I was just thinking
saves
paper-wise.
Yeah, paper, absolutely.
I do recycle them afterwards, so if anyone ever reads my recycling bin, I do recycle the paper, so no biggie there.
Where we're at.
Well, today we're gonna go all over the place, because we did Fort Robinson and the Midwest. Oh, you still got last week's stuff.
So we're here.
Okay,
No,
yeah.
that's why I was confused, because it still said Midwest. I'm
Okay.
like, did we do that?
Yeah.
It's been a long few weeks.
Did we do the Midwest?
Like I said, yes, we have.
Yes, we have. Yes.
So the past few weeks, I don't know about anybody else or how anybody feels about what's gone on in the past few weeks, but it's nevertheless been long.
Yeah.
It's been long.
It's
It
been
feels like
very
it's been
long.
months.
And I think it's like every other day, you and I are texting like, oh God, guess what happened? Yeah.
Yep.
And, life gets in the way sometimes. This is our fun hobby, and, we want to get ahead enough to not have people go, oh no, why is there not an episode this week? But we're just not there. Life gets in the way, and, you either like us or you don't. And again, it goes back to the whole thing. We're just trying to get some info out here, and hopefully you enjoy it. And I also, the other podcast that I listen to is the History of English.
Oh.
And I think I've talked about it before, but the gentleman who does it, he thought he could get from not pre-language, Proto-European languages. He could go from that to current day in 100 episodes, and episode 180 just dropped a couple of days ago, and he's still in the 1600s. So it's going to be a while, but I absolutely love it, and there's weeks to months between episodes. But his episodes are so densely packed, in that time you could listen to the episode 3 or 4 times to get everything.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I would rather have a podcast of quality. Like Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, there's huge gaps in episodes, and his episodes can be like 3 hours long.
Yeah.
But there's huge gaps in between the episodes, and I would rather have quality than quantity. That just don't churn out crap.
Well, we can't all be like Joe Rogan, where that's kind of all he does now.
Yeah,
He just does podcasts.
and
I wish.
I personally hate that guy, but
I don't like him, but he is.
He is an
popular and
example.
does
Yeah, he is an
podcasts
example of
constantly.
does it constantly, because that is his job that he gets paid for,
Yeah.
and he also doesn't do all the work. So
True,
like
he kind of has a crew.
yeah,
a whole
his crew
that
edits
does
and
it,
puts crap together. And granted, if it's live, he's probably still not setting everything up live. I was listening to Seth Andrews the other day of The Thinking Atheist, and he had done a live stream after the election, a few days after the election. And he's like, okay, are we live? Are we live? Oh, I forgot to do this. And it's kind of funny, because he does his own thing, and then every now and then he forgets to hit a couple of buttons.
I think Seth Andrews on the one I watch now, because I listen a lot to The Line.
Yeah,
and
he's on The Line sometimes,
'cause
yeah.
I love the Transatlantic Channel. That is an amazing show. I just got done with the recent one with Alexander and Dr. Ben. I love it whenever they come up and just grill people.
Yeah. Yes, and Seth Andrews and Aaron Ra were, I listened this morning to a little 13-minute clip of some guy questioning them about morality.
Oh yeah, and I love Aaron Ra too.
Yeah.
What a character.
Oh
Like,
God.
what a
and
character.
that dude is so stinking smart.
Oh, I was trying to keep up with one of his evolutionary videos where he was just starting to name the phyluses and the species all just started in order, and I got lost about
Yes.
like 2 seconds, 5 seconds, and I'm like, huh?
Yes. Yeah, and he said that he's I forget where because he's in different places, but
Yeah.
that I guess the majority of the folks that listen specifically to him, because I don't listen to every one of his episodes, but a chunk of them, they want to hear him talk more about phylogeny.
Yeah.
So he's going to continue doing that, and he's
It's wonderful.
very educated
Yeah,
in
it's
that
wonderful
subject.
to listen to him. I could just sit there and listen to him forever.
Yeah.
And not necessarily understand all of it, but he's patient and he tries.
Yeah. So I, with all of them, I'd rather I get a quality episode rather than, oh, I must do this now. So, but that's their jobs. All of those people, that's what they do for a living. And you and I are doing it in our spare time. And granted, I am sort of semi-retired, and I think the only way I'm going to make money is putting my stuff up on my Substack account and asking people for money. But with my mom's accident
And everything
4
going on.
months ago, it's that you don't really realize until it happens how much it consumes your life. And even in that, my aunt and my nephew have been tremendous help, and my cousin as well. So hi, Aunt Elaine, Andrea, and David. They've been tremendous help behind the scenes, helping me when I couldn't, and all I needed. And it was weird. It was easy for me to reach out to them and say, hey, I was up all night with flashbacks last night. My PTSD sucks today, and they would just reply, what do I need to do? So that's been very helpful, but it's still that consumes your life,
It does.
and it is like a job in itself, and you have a full-time job to pay your bills. So we get these little gaps, and our plan for October was to get these episodes out, and then you and I talked, and we were like, it doesn't matter. They're ghost stories.
Ghost stories.
It's not like the ghosts only come out for Halloween.
Right? Yeah, that's very true.
Well, I mean, they don't come out at all because they don't exist. But
But
know,
if they did, it
but if they
wouldn't
did,
be just Halloween.
yeah. So we did talk. Now that we've rambled on for 12 minutes and not even started the episode yet, we did cover Fort Robinson in the Midwest in our previous couple of episodes. So if you haven't heard those, go check those out. I know the most about those. That's why they took up so much time, because I knew all the multiple stories around it. And then these are just little things of, like, hey, did you hear about this? Like your mom told you, oh, what factory was it? Or what was it she said? Did you know about this or this? Like she brought up 3 things to you and we were like, no. We've never heard of those. Yeah. So we've got a year now to get your mom to talk. I told her, I said, you come down here and sit in the chair and talk. And she goes, oh, okay. And I'm like, no, I'm totally serious. Sit down in the chair and talk, and we'll just sit on the episode for a year.
It's not like she can't. That's her whole job now, is just to talk to, well, it was always her job, just to talk to people. Even when she had a gun strapped to her hip, that was the main job, was to talk to people. So
she'd
be okay.
Yeah. I told her just come over, start chatting, and I told her she's got a year to do it, and we'll just sit on the episode. If she does it in February, then we'll just hang on to it. Or maybe we'd put it out. Who knows? Who cares? Because it's our podcast. We can do what we want.
Right now, I mean, she has quite a project that she took on, building an addition to the trailer. And it's just been, we got to get one thing done, then another thing done, then got to get shuttered up, then we got to get the siding on, then it's just like been one thing after another.
Yeah.
So.
And you all want to do it before winter really kicks in.
And that's what we're trying to do. None of us could get the time off till the end of October, so that was already pushing it, even though it was extraordinarily nice when we started putting it up, but now it's getting cold.
Yeah. So when I wrote these, I tried to make generally a square. So if anyone wanted to look on a map, we'll start with Ogallala, go to Sydney. I tried to make a square around the Panhandle of the different places, so it would be easy for someone to just pop open a map and follow where these are at.
We made a nice itinerary for anyone who wanted to do some ghost traveling.
Yeah, there you go. You can just come out here, drive around. Where's the ghost? Where's the ghost? And some of the places that we mention, like, for example, we're going to do Ogallala first, and I'll mention the mansion on the hill. That's on my list of episodes to do about the history of the mansion on the hill. But since we're just doing ghosts right now, we're just going to stick with the ghosts and get to the other bits later. So if you're hearing us talk and you think, ooh, that sounds interesting, yeah, it sounded interesting to us too, and we'll get to it. But right now, we're just doing the scary bits. So I don't know why I started in Ogallala. I just did. And Ogallala's on the very edge of the Panhandle, and you and I have had this discussion. Yeah. Do we count it? Do we not count it?
Well, you know what's amazing is because it's at the very edge of the Panhandle. The only time I ever went to Ogallala wasn't really to Ogallala at all. It was to Lake McConaughey. I don't really think I've been there a whole lot. And that's kind of weird, considering most of other places around here I've been multiple times, all the time throughout my childhood. But Ogallala really was never a destination, and I don't know why.
Yeah. When I moved out here from New York, that's the exit we got off, and we drove the back way through. When we came out here to look for a place to live. And then when we moved here a month later, we came that way too. And just about, maybe 2-3 miles east of Ogallala, horrible thunderstorm. I couldn't even see the end of my car.
Oh, yeah.
So I started going really, really slow, and I saw a few cars on the side of the roads. I saw the tail lights, so I just pulled in behind them and sat and waited it out. Yep. And we found out when we got here later that day that there had been tornadoes in the area as well.
Which must be kind of interesting coming from New York and coming to this.
Yeah, I'm used to hurricanes, but not tornadoes. Yeah.
Especially since we used to get them way more often than we do now. The actual tornado alley has shifted due to climate change.
Yes.
And everything. So, but we used to be in tornado alley.
Yes. And on that day as well, I remembered my schooling that under the overpass would be safer. So that is where we pulled our car off. Under the overpass, and then just waited it out. And then when everybody did take off, it was a line of like 20 cars doing about 25 miles an hour.
Slow caravan out of Ogallala, guys.
And then it was weird because a couple of miles down the road, we hit Ogallala, and I go, Paul, we need gas, or we're not making it. So I got gas in Ogallala, and then the weather was clear the rest of the way. So
how big is Ogallala? That's how much I haven't been to there. Is it like the size of Alliance, the size of Scotts Bluff?
Oh, it's not as big as Scotts Bluff. I think maybe Alliance size. There's only a few thousand people there.
So more like Mitchell size.
Yeah, you and I should just meet one day at 6 a.m. and drive down there and go check it out.
Well, and you mentioned wanting to go see the bald eagles.
Yes.
Which is what I know for Ogallala really is for their bald eagles.
Yeah.
So.
Speaking of which, last weekend I had gone to Agate to learn some beading, and they gave us little tiny ornaments, the little small ones, and you were beading like a little casing for it.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it took me 3 hours and 10 minutes.
It's okay.
And which is okay, I got it done. The ladies that were doing it are from Crawford and Lakota.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're just speeding along going like,
yeah, they do it half
away.
Yeah, half hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of fun, and I'm going to give it to my mom. I've already got it in a little package to send it to her.
That's really cool.
But I saw 2 bald eagles on the road up to Agate, and I stopped, and by the time I took a picture, they were flying away. So I did write a blog post about it because, I take Monkey with me everywhere. And so the story's always was written from Monkey's point of view. But they told me when I got up there that seeing 2 bald eagles at the same time is a good sign, and just how important it was. And I was kind of crabby at the time because I'm like, dang it, they were sitting on the tree. I could have got the picture. And they flew away. And I'm like, maybe one day I'll get a picture. But I was still kind of crabby about it. And then they kind of changed my perspective on that. And I was like, yeah, I got to see them. One day I'll get the picture.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I don't get the picture.
Another amazing thing heading out that way that I see more than bald eagles are gold eagles. They're just giant, and I don't know why they're called golden eagles because they're black. I don't know. I didn't come up with the name, guys, but they're huge. You can definitely know when you see one. They're like they're about the same size. They're a little bit smaller than bald eagles, but not much. So when you see one, you're like, holy cow, that's a huge bird. So yeah, and I've seen that. I've seen those actually a couple times.
Okay.
Because they love to sit on the hay bales for some reason, or the fence posts, kind of like what you see the hawks do.
The hay bales, probably because there's mice in the bottom part of the hay bales.
Could be, yeah.
And if I'm an eagle, I'm like, that's easy pickings. Wait for the mouse to come out, dinner.
Oh yeah, I mean if you appreciate like falconeering or falcons or just bird watching in general, man, do we have some pretty predator birds out here.
Yes.
We have beautiful birds out here.
We've got osprey, red-tailed hawks, Swainson's hawks. I've seen turkey vulture before. I have a very nice picture of a turkey vulture.
We used to hate those in Sioux Falls because, and they still come to this day. Well, the Hormel plant's not too far away.
Oh.
So they'll come in, and there'll be 50, 60, 80 of them. And they'll hover very ominously. They just circle like vultures do, but they'll do this all day. So if you come to Sioux Falls for the first time and see this, you're just like, what's going on?
What hell town did I just drive into?
Like, is Alfred Hitchcock nearby? What's going on?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so back to Ogallala. Yeah, I think if I just find an interesting story in Ogallala, just do it.
Yeah.
It's all interesting, even if it's at the edge of the Panhandle. So there's a place there called Mansion on the Hill, and it's an old red brick building built in 1887 in the Victorian style. Today it's a museum, but staff and visitors have reported a ghostly apparition of a man in the house. He hasn't been identified, so it's just shape of a dude. And they've also seen floating lights, and everyone seems to kind of have a general unease in the building. So I thought that would be a perfect thing. Not only do I want to do an episode on the history of the Mansion on a Hill, but like you and I are skeptics, we don't believe in this at all, that we should go and see if we have some kind of unease when we, if there's...
I want to see the floating lights. I've always, as a kid, will-o'-the-wisps were my favorite creature, spooky creature. And of course they've explained what happens now is they have like methane pockets building up in swamps in England and Scotland, and they would burst in flame, from chemical reactions in the air. And so these people would see a flash of light and go towards it, and die, or something bad happened because you're going in the middle of a swamp. And so it was always fascinating, the will-o'-the-wisps. So the floating lights, I want to see some floating, even if they are methane pockets. I still want to see.
It's still something cool to see. Yeah. Yeah, so who knows?
Well, actually, here it'd be a little bit scary because that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, and I think if I saw it in a house, it'd be scary too, because my first thought would be, pockets of gas, and then I'd be going, I need to get out of this house because it's going to explode.
And there's methane plants everywhere around here. I don't know about this county per se, but if you're heading out towards Denver, they're right alongside the highway. Yeah, you see them all the time. You see just a small brown, facility with a couple tanks.
So then we kind of move on down west a little bit to Sydney. And I know a lot of people like graveyards. I don't know. I go to a graveyard to pay my respects to people. I don't go looking for ghosts, but people like to go there. And I'm kind of hesitant to mention it because you don't want people traipsing around going, ooh, where's the ghost? Where's the ghost?
That is a good point. And we probably should put out that as a disclaimer. It's like, don't go trouncing around graveyards. If you do, be respectful. And you're usually not allowed to do it at night anymore, thanks to people like me and my friends, at least not here. Yeah. Because I was one of those teenagers that was really into the the cult stuff. So it was just the bee's knees to go out to the graveyard in the middle of the night and just do funny, dumb shit.
Yeah.
It was
because
dumb.
you're a stupid teenager.
Yeah, and it was very disrespectful. Looking back at it, I'm just like, I'm like, it's cringe. It's so cringe.
So I hesitated to mention this one, but it's probably one of the more famous ones out here in the Panhandle. Boot Hill Cemetery in Sydney has hosted for many, many years a Halloween tour called the Ghost Walk.
Oh, so they actually encourage this. Well, not encourage you to do it yourself.
It's a little tour. Yeah. So the Boot Hill Grave Committee does a really good job with taking people to the cemetery and being respectful while telling them ghost stories and that kind of stuff, which I thought was cool. And they tell the stories and then let visitors decide for themselves if ghosts actually live there. The stories of the people in the cemetery are pretty harrowing and interesting at the same time, and I thought about doing some, but we just need to do an episode on the cemetery with the people in the cemetery to just tell their stories, and we'll do that in the future. People have commented that they smell rose water and have seen things in their photographs. The last official tour that I could find was an article from 2021. So I don't know if they still host it or not because, you got COVID going. That's and right. that messed things up and stuff. But they're all volunteers that do it. There's a committee that takes care of the cemetery, and then folks volunteer to do this. It may still be running. I just couldn't find a current article, or not even like a press release saying, hey, we're going to do this date. So they may or may not. There is a video out there, I think it was on YouTube, where a couple of the folks talk about what they do. So it'd be nice if they did, and then, I don't know, maybe if we were so motivated, like next year, call them up and say, hey, we want to come down and take a tour, and y'all can tell us what's going on, and we can test out that audio equipment we got that we don't know if it really works or not.
That's right. We never got a chance to actually use it yet, have we?
We tried. We went to Legacy, and then I forgot that you had to set things up on the recorders before you went. It's a very bizarre setting, so maybe if we take that trip down to Ogallala, we'll just grab those and go, and then just talk, and however it turns out, and hopefully, because I can edit dead spots out.
Sure.
But we need to experiment with that. It's just life has gotten in the way in the last year for both of us.
Yes.
So while you're in Sydney, take a trip over to the Fort Sydney Commander's Quarters. There used to be a big old fort there. It used to be Fort Sydney, and now it's just Sydney. It's not like Fort Collins in Colorado where they kept the name Fort. Same with Kearney, Nebraska. It used to be Fort Kearney. They dropped the Fort part, and it's just Kearney now.
Colorado just likes to be special all the time.
Yeah. That's right. They are special because they allow some things to be legal that this state just is backwards thinking on. Anyway, so at Fort Sydney Commander's Quarters, you'll find the ghost of a young officer's wife. Reportedly, while carrying a load of laundry in 1885, she fell down a flight of stairs and broke her neck. Her husband boarded up those stairs, which seems dumb unless you have another set of stairs, and there was. So it still seems dumb. Why are you going to board up the stairs?
I wonder, was it an outside stairwell?
No.
No?
No.
Huh.
No.
Interesting.
I don't understand why he boarded it up. And those particular stairs were uncovered in 1975 and restored, but they're closed to visitors. I have been on them because I was down there doing a story several years ago, and I asked about the stairs, and the guy was like, oh yeah, they're over here. And we went and used the stairs, but it's closed to visitors. Regardless, sometime in the 1930s, visitors reported hearing the sound of someone walking, then tumbling down a flight of stairs. So even though no one has seen her, they claim to have heard her. I didn't hear anything when I was on the stairs, but
that seems kind of funny. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be scared or if I'd be laughing.
Yeah.
Just hear like thunk 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 thunk. It's like, are you okay?
yeah. Because you'd be like, oh, are you okay? Oh, wait, yeah, that's the ghost, and then
Yeah.
you would laugh and move on with life.
Even though it's not
not
funny,
funny.
really, because
Yeah.
she broke her neck, the poor thing.
Yeah.
That was horrible.
Oh, and doing laundry,
And doing laundry.
So she's doing
Oh.
someone else's laundry, and she breaks her neck and dies. That sucks. So then if you head north from Sydney to the town of Alliance, I know there are many more stories in Alliance, but I just, I don't know people in Alliance to do more. The Alliance Theater is up there. It was built in 1903, and when it was built, it was the Charter Hotel. It didn't become a theater until 1938. It seems that reports have been made for decades about shadowy figures and the sounds of footsteps running in the hallways, the usual creepy stuff. And while the employees get spooked by it all, they still think it's a friendly ghost, so they don't worry too much about it. I did find 3 comments on the Haunted Places website about their experiences, so I'm just going to read those 3 now. The first one, if you go at the 9 o'clock show in the small theater, you can feel, see, and hear people tuning and touching you. It is really creepy. I don't know what tuning would be, but I don't want.
Me.
Yeah.
Is this right? Am I in the right key?
There you go. Yeah, see, because I was trying to put something together with touching, but tuning, yes, it could be something like that. And I would be more creeped out about somebody touching me and nobody being there.
Right.
The second comment said, I didn't even think about the theater being haunted, and then I went to use the restroom. As I was doing my business at the stand-up urinal, another patron walked in behind me, passed behind me, and proceeded to the bathroom stall. I finished my business, washed my hands, and turned to see that the stalls were all empty, doors open, no one else inside the restroom at all. I walked out with the hair on my arm standing straight up and the chilling tingle on the back of my neck, only to see that no one else was even in the staircase leading back down to the floor level. At this point, it struck me that there might be activity here. Then I researched a little further and discovered that I wasn't the only one who's experienced something strange here. Okay.
I mean, that would suck.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than trying to do your business and just anyone creeping up on you. That's why I'm sure girls probably don't have to deal with this so much, but a lot of urinary stalls in boys' rooms, I mean, they're right next to each other.
Yeah.
You're always, as we say, gun shy. So when something like that happens, yeah, I wouldn't use that restroom anymore.
Yeah. I would just hold it or wet my pants. Yeah.
And I don't know if I could. I could probably go back up to the urinal. It's like nothing's going to happen. I'm way too freaked out.
Yeah. And the third comment said, Alliance is haunted in a hole. And I'm reading this as they wrote it, and I tried to fix the grammar as I could. I think they mean Alliance as a whole is haunted, like it's haunted everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That sentence makes more sense. Yeah.
There are dark entities everywhere. It's a really uneasy place. I moved here and I literally want to leave. My apartment is flooded with dark things that attach, and there is even a portal in that building. Everyone commits suicide here, and people don't realize it's the land. I wish I'd never moved here. It's been a horrible experience. If you can't see, be thankful, but yet most likely everyone here has an attachment on them. It's a no for me.
And I find that kind of sad because part of my childhood was in Alliance. My mom and dad lived in Alliance when I was very young. We had a house, and I always, coming back to Alliance, maybe it is because I was there as a kid, I love that town. It's so quaint and charming, and it has the cobblestone streets.
Yes.
I mean, it has a beautiful park.
Yeah.
I love that park as the night museum. I mean, I think we talked about the night museum. I always thought it was quaint and wonderful. I never had it. The big thing about Alliance is the storms. Now, those do suck. Anybody who's lived in Scottsbluff long enough knows that when you see our storm here goes by, it's going to go down in Alliance. And it usually always does.
Yeah. Up to Alliance, yeah.
Up to Alliance. Sorry, up, down, down, up.
Yeah.
But almost always you hear about rain and tornadoes, endless tornadoes, endless blizzards.
Yes.
They really take the brunt out there.
Crap tons of snow.
Tons of snow. More snow than we get for some reason, and we're only an hour away.
And for a while, for about 3 years, I traveled to Alliance twice a week, and I've never felt anything. So
I always thought it was one of the more charming towns we have on this side of the state.
Yeah. So I feel kind of sad for this person that their experience has been so bad.
I wonder, now, again, there is some weird things about Alliance. I don't know what you would call it now, but when I was a kid, it was where most of the shopping was done. Not the cobblestone Main Street, the one that goes off and out onto the highway as you come in down, like by the old Walmart or Kmart. Was it Kmart or Walmart?
Yeah.
Kmart.
Yeah.
All that going in towards the cobblestone street is very, very run down now. I mean, it just is. Alliance has been there for a while, and it's industrial looking.
Yeah.
It's kind of depressing on that side of the town.
Yeah.
So maybe she didn't get to the other side of the town that I like so
much. So then we head on north and slightly west to Chadron. And Chadron has the old Main Street Inn. It was built in 1890 by Peter and Margaret O'Hanlon and was known as the Hotel Chadron. Have we ever had a Hotel Scottsbluff? I don't think so.
No, we named our hotels off of presidents. We're better.
Yeah. And now all the people from Chadron are getting in their cars and coming down here to find us to beat us for that.
Probably.
The hotel was used as a headquarters for General Nelson Miles while he was investigating the tragedy of Wounded Knee. 2 popular ghosts have been given the names Anna and Jack due to their supposed resemblance to 2 family members of previous owners. And according to the Haunted Bar Guide, Uncle Jack was a prankster in life, and the behavior of the ghosts, including the slamming of doors, lends itself to being Jack. Those who have seen the apparition of a woman describe her in a red dress and resembling Jack's sister, Anna. Hotel guests have reported hearing footsteps on the stairs and that objects in the hotel get moved from their original locations.
This sounds like a bit of a plagiarism in my. I smell plagiarism.
And the objects moving is not an original thing. I can't tell you how many times the young man that we rent a room to, because I don't know if he wants me to say his name or not. I don't know how many times, Irene, I lost my phone, can you call it? And it's constantly being moved different places in the house, and it's because he puts it down and he forgets where it's at. And that's how I've always considered these, unless I'm literally sitting here and, it starts moving.
And even then, I'd be looking under the table.
Yeah, I'd be looking for magnets under the table. Yeah, I'd be like, yeah.
But also a trickster in life that died that went by the name of Jack.
Yeah.
That sounds like Jack of the Lantern.
Yeah.
They didn't even get another name.
Yeah. Well, and he supposedly, was the name of the dude that died, but still.
But still, the story,
yeah.
For those who don't know, and I guess this is a little bit after Halloween, so I won't go too far into this. Jack of the Lantern was a character. I don't know if they know if he ever existed. Basically, he was a prankster. There's several stories, and one story that I heard is he basically tricked the devil, and the devil got mad, and the trick made Jack immortal, or at least not able to go to hell. So because Jack couldn't go to hell, And he actually, I think, tricked God in the story so he couldn't go to heaven either. He was forced to wander the earth for all eternity with nothing but a small amount of coal that he kept in a lantern, or jack-o'-lantern, which is where we get jack-o'-lanterns now, to keep warm for the rest of eternity. So,
Okay.
I mean, and there's several versions of the story. But that's the big thing. But like I said, a prankster.
But that's what it reminded you of.
A prankster named Jack that died. I went,
Yeah. So according to the website Haunted Rooms, a couple who stayed in the hotel had placed a glass of water on their bedside table. When they woke up the following morning, the glass had been moved to a different corner in the room. The owner has reported the ghost they refer to as Jack broke a pitcher that was on the end of the bar, but nobody was around. The owner stated that when a piece of the pitcher just broke off. Those two things, the piece of the pitcher broke off because
pick up picture, look at the bottom, made in China crap.
Yeah. Or just crappily made, and there was a crack, and the crack
even worse,
finally...
made in the USA crap.
Yeah. I mean, on my own windshield, a rock hit it, and you slowly watch to see where the crack is going. Mm-hmm. And I have one that's been on my windshield for 3 years because I'm not paying to replace the windshield. Yeah. And it's on the passenger side on the very far right. It doesn't obstruct my vision in any way, so I'm not going to get it done, but I watched the crack move. And if it moved a different way, then eventually, that windshield's going to shatter.
Yeah, and I've seen glass shatter. Well, it wasn't spontaneously. There was a reason for it, which was like rapid heating, rapid cooling. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
Especially with pitchers. Makes sense if you got it next to a lamp or a candle, it got too hot, and then put some water in it. Put some water in it. Yeah, it's probably going to shatter.
And I have a glass container that I make my iced tea in, and it even says not to put hot water in it. Mm-hmm. And I've known that since I was a little child. If you have a glass container, if you put really hot water in it and then a whole bunch of cold water or ice, look for that thing to break, because it can't take the difference.
That's why if you're a glass blower, once you're done with whatever glass piece, they have to put it in what's called an annealer to slowly bring down the temperature, because if you were just to make this piece and leave it out, it will shatter on its own. Mm-hmm. It'll cool down too fast.
Yeah. So to me, it's either old pitcher, faulty pitcher. That's what that says to me. And the folks that got up in the morning and the glass had been moved, I have a bottle of water that's next to my bed every night, and it's in different spots in the morning, because most of the time I know I'm awake and I want to go drink of water, but there are times I take a drink of water. Yeah.
I'll do that too.
Yeah.
I do the same thing. I have a couple of bottles of water next to my bed. So I'll sleep drink all the time, which is good. Stay hydrated.
Yes. Hydration is key. So there have also been reports of an apparition believed to be Anna. Every sighting has described Anna as wearing a red satin dress. In another report from St. Patrick's Day, 1992, the owner went to pour a pint of beer. The drink was mysteriously green.
I'm sorry, that's funny.
Yeah, when I came across that, I read that 5 times going, was there something missing there? Okay. Yeah. She didn't plan on putting green coloring into the beverages for the holiday, so she went back to the keg to check and see what the issue was. After pouring 2 more green beers, the next drink came out completely clear. She thinks pranksters Jack and Anna were at work.
Or she didn't clean out her beer taps. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't drink beer, so I don't have to worry about getting anything from...
I've always had a problem with people dyeing things funny colors. Like, I don't... Even like sports drinks and stuff like that, I never understood. Because I'll have an energy drink every now and then, but it's like, but why did you dye it and then put it in an aluminum can where you can't see it anyway until you open it, and you're putting it to your mouth? So what was the point of the color? Like, why?
Why? And we don't need all those dyes. You could make all the different drinks out here. You could make without the dyes,
and it's probably safer for you.
Yes,
especially since we're still coming out with problems with dyes.
Yes. And when I was a little kid, what was it? Red maraschino cherries you couldn't get for a while because what was it? Red dye number 5, I think it was
Yeah,
was
dye
banned.
number 5. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. It was.
Yeah. And when I was a little kid, pistachios were often red. They would dye, so you could get them in the shell, their normal tannish color, but you
Yeah.
could get them red as well. And then all of a sudden you couldn't get them because they used that dye.
Yeah.
And that dye stuck on your hands. It was like a magic marker. You couldn't wash it off. You had to wait for it to come off. And my hands were always stained with something because we had black walnuts trees in our backyard. And so it was constantly stained with the walnut juice.
Yep.
And then I used markers when I drew as a little kid. And then the maraschino or the red pistachios, that would get on your hands. You can't wash it off. So as a little kid, I think my family just kind of gave up. Did you wash your hands? Yeah, dude, I washed my hands.
Yeah,
you know, like I
sure.
can't.
Yes.
And, yeah, I tried. So that's Shadron, and then we're gonna head south and a teeny bit west. It would be directly west from Fort Robinson to the Battle of Warbonnet Creek Memorial, and we have done a two-part episode. Did we do it on Warbonnet? We did Warbonnet in Montrose.
That's right.
And it was one of our earlier episodes. Go back and listen to it.
Because it's out by Montrose.
Yeah. And we had the whole argument of Montrose versus Montrose.
Montrose.
So 37 miles from Shadron is the Battle of Warbonnet Creek Memorial. And I've been there a few times, but I've never experienced anything. I have been told if you go there a week before or after the day of the battle, you'll see an eerie green glowing mist whirling around the memorial to the battle, as well as the grave site of Yellowhair. And I wrote his name, and I really don't want to butcher it. It's HEOVA'. And I don't speak Lakota, and I don't want to be disrespectful and screw his name up, but it translates to Yellowhair. I've always thought that this might be the Northern Lights, but people say it's specific to a week before or after the battle. I don't know. So the battle took place on July 17th, 1876, and if you want to learn more about that, just check out our earlier episode on it where we go into detail about it. I have only ever visited in the spring or fall. I've never been there in July, so I don't remember to go out. Oh, July 17th is coming up. I should probably go see if this is here. And then being out there when it gets dark enough to see this.
And it would be an odd time of year, at least here, for Northern Lights to be out.
Yeah, because that usually ends
Unless you had a sun flare.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
there's a sun flare every July 17th. I don't know.
So I, as much as I'm trying to find a scientific reason to this, I've never actually seen it to even have an idea of where to start scientifically what this might be.
I would again ask, what's with the green?
Yeah. Why green?
Why is that the spooky color?
Yeah.
It can't be like chartreuse or purple. I don't know. Like pale blue. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why green. Who knows? To me, the green says something with the atmosphere. But
all I think of, all it reminds me of was Creepshow.
Creepshow,
the one with Stephen King in it, being eaten by the green thing you found in the meteor. But I remember that there was always just green mist everywhere.
Yeah, and that's a popular old sci-fi thing.
Yeah. So, of course it's green.
Yeah. So others have reported seeing and hearing things, including hearing people running through the woods, which if you've been there, what woods?
What woods? That's actually a very good point. There's no woods out there, guys.
Yeah. Some people say they heard voices speaking in a strange language.
Learn Lakota.
Yeah, at least I would give you that one because there were a bunch of Lakota there. I think there were some Northern Cheyenne as well, but at least strange language would make sense because if you've never actually heard Lakota or Northern Cheyenne, it would seem strange.
Yeah. I guess I've grown up with it all my life, so I find it beautiful. But no, I can see that.
I find it beautiful. It might be strange, but beautiful language. So I'm going to quote from an anonymous comment on the Nebraska Haunted Houses website. I, too, have experienced paranormal activity at Warbonnet. Several trips out there had me coming back with very interesting digital EVPs.
What's an EVP?
It's like electronic voice recording things, and supposedly
see, I don't watch Ghost Hunter. I don't know. They use all this stuff. I don't know any of it.
I looked it up one time, and it was just basically they're recording the ghost's voice. One in particular was a verbal response to a comment I made regarding the wind. While on top of the hill at the monument, I mentioned that it was a little breezy. Immediately following that comment on my recording was the statement, "just a little bit." I don't know.
And nobody else was there.
Yeah. And I've heard, because I watched that Ghost Hunter show when it first came out, and it was just, I think it's still running, and I'm like, how?
Or worse, there's multiple versions of it now.
It was so terrible, but they would be like, "Oh my God, the ghost said, 'You suck, Zach,' and they would play it, and then play it, and play it, and play it, and of course, after the 15th time, you're listening for 'You suck, Zach,' and you start to hear that."
Yep. It's kind of that effect of like you have a song that you heard on the radio and you really like it and you swear you know all the lyrics, and then you actually hear it and then like, wow, I was totally wrong. That wasn't the lyrics at all. What was I singing?
Yeah. So other recordings were of gunshots, unintelligible voices, whooping type call, and the person wrote Indian ? In parentheses, and a metallic sound that reminded me of a sword being drawn. I have a recording of that same type of sound at Fort Robinson. So before I finish the comment, I'm just going to go, you can hear gunshots out in the open prairie.
All the time.
All the time. Unintelligible voices on your recording is just...
And how do you make the sword saber sound like in the movies? I thought that was not a sword at all. I thought they were doing something completely weird in the soundstage to make that sound, because I've taken swords out thousands of times, Lord of the Rings style. I had some Lord of the Rings swords, and I try to whip it out and get that Aragorn shing thing to happen.
Yeah.
Never works.
No.
Never works.
Yeah. And I have a machete that I got in Tanzania, and it doesn't make that sound either.
Yeah, usually if you want it to make that sound, you have to hit it against something it wasn't meant to cut through.
Like as you're doing it, you literally need to go bing.
Yeah, you just make the sound like, shing. Wasn't that cool? Maybe that was it. Maybe the dead soldiers or whatever were making that sounds during that time, maybe.
I also thought I saw a darting movement through the brush near the creek itself. So if you look off to the distance, I'm not sure how far away the creek is. You can kind of see it, but yeah, there is brush around the creek. Well, there's deer, there's antelope, there's all kinds of prairie critters. I've been hiking all over the Panhandle, and there are times I see things move in the brush.
Yeah.
And a slightly different example, when I was just up at Spearfish hiking, I saw something move in the grass, and I'm like, what was that? And I looked, and I waited long enough, and the chipmunk moved, and I got some awesome chipmunk pictures. But
it's actually it's even more creepy when you see things fall and you don't quite know what happened. Because that happens out in the prairie too. The hawks, this is how they often will come and kill things. They'll come and grab squirrels or rabbits and go way up in the air and just drop them. And that's how they kill them. Very, very clever, but if you're not necessarily in the same vicinity as the hawk, or if the wind catches it just right, it like falls over there, you're looking and there's nothing there. It's almost like it fell from nowhere.
Yeah.
And you're like, huh?
When I climbed up Bede Mountain for the first time. I went up with my friend Steve, and we found a turtle shell, and it was broken. And we're on the top of that. There's no way a turtle can climb up to where we were at. And
Yeah, it was a bird.
that's exactly what it was. A bird found a turtle someplace else, dropped it there, killed it, and then cracked open its shell and ate the turtle.
It's a very clever hunting strategy, but if you don't know that, it's probably a little off-putting.
Yeah. About 100 yards in from the entrance, I sensed a very strong energy presence. That's
Whatever
just
that means.
you being creeped out. Okay.
I don't know what that means, strong energy presence.
Yeah. I don't.
Like voltage? Because if you sense that, you should be very worried.
Yes. Because there's no voltage out there.
That's when you really should be getting worried. It's like, crap.
That was the only place I experienced that. I also use a pendulum for my paranormal hunting. It was very active throughout the entire area. I don't even know what you do. Whatever. I guess I was napping the whole time I've been out there because I've never experienced any of this stuff.
And I find the whole idea of using pendulums to be like fascinating because I mean they were a mathematical instrument originally.
Yes.
Used to build Greek monuments, the pyramids, for crying out loud. They probably used pendulums, and it became so mysterious. But I don't believe, or don't really remember recalling, the Greeks or the Egyptians using the pendulum that way.
Yeah.
Except for math. They actually used it for architecture. So it's kind of funny. It's like, where in the world did that come from?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that like the Ouija board from Mattel? Did Mattel make pendulums?
There you go, Mattel. You got a new toy. I don't get it. I don't understand, but I just live here. I've never experienced anything out there, and I don't want to say that I would be more attuned to it, but you and I have had this conversation many times before about I feel this strange connection to the Lakota people, and it's just that I think it just comes down to the way I think and the way that I would like to live lines up with their traditional culture.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's anything more than that, but I know people that would read into that.
And I guess it's a feeling that if you have, it's not going to hurt anybody. I mean, I think the Lakota would appreciate the sentiment. It's like, I feel very, connected to your people. Even in me as a white man, I would think that you would either get a nod or a very sharp shake of the head, like you have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. But I think it comes down to, my character kind of matches up with what their traditional culture was, and I like to sit and listen and learn from them, and it's just a respect thing more than anything else. But it honestly is why I'm hesitant to do Crazy Horse, because so many people have written books about him and written better books than I could write, but everything I've read, I have this weird connection when I'm reading about things he did and supposedly said, and the way his character isn't the right word, but you know what I mean, his not character as in made up person, but who he was.
Well, he became a legend for sure.
Yeah.
And some legends were actual people. Well, a lot of legends are actually people.
But the man himself, it's like I identify with that. I identify why he struggled with that. It probably would be the same if you had the same storyline as Crazy Horse. I would probably be just as attracted or find a kinship or something in that.
Well, and there's so much things we just like you said. There's so many different stories about Crazy Horse. Unlike Chief Black Elk, for instance, Black Elk Speaks. It's a wonderful book. But, I mean, that's Black Elk. I mean, he is who he is. His history is pretty well known, and I've never really heard a lot of legendary. Not to say he himself was not a legendary character. He was quite an amazing person, but like you don't hear him. You don't hear 15 variations of his story, like Crazy Horse. You know, you hear all these versions again. Thanks to the Crazy Horse Monument, that got a lot worse.
Yeah, I try to stick with Crazy Horse with the one book by Joseph Marshall, I believe his name is. He's Lakota himself, and then with the stories that line up. Like if I tell you a story of this can and what it tastes like, and then you tell a story of this can and what it tastes like, our stories are going to be very similar. There might be some minor differences, but the story of the can is the same. Yeah. And so that's kind of what I try to stick with Crazy Horse, because those are probably the factual things. Yeah. And it could be a case of, you know, like I can tell you a story, and I did this experiment on my blog about getting a speeding ticket. And it depends who I tell that story to. It can be a 5-minute story. It can be an hour-long story. It depends who I'm talking to and how much time we have. It's still the same story. It's just the details that I add. And so when I look at Crazy Horse, that's what I'm looking for, is the core detail. Yeah. And then the little offshoots from it that add to it and doesn't seem like it's legend. But anyway, maybe next summer I'll remember to go out there.
And I do think that you and I especially, because we've told these people here many times, neither of us are historians. We're not anthropologists. We're not archaeologists. Okay. We just do this for fun in our spare time. So I hope that we're not, even the past stuff that we did, creating any unnecessary legend work, because that's not what we were trying to do. We really are just trying to repeat stories as we ourselves studied them, read them, researched them, and presented it to you guys. But please don't take us like completely at our word.
And technically, if you ever look up after Irene is dead, she has a BA in anthropology, but it was in 1992.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So I take back some of what I said. So you do have some anthropology.
I was going to qualify that with I am not an anthropologist, but I did focus on cultural anthropology, and that helped me as a journalist, and I think that's why I'm interested in these kinds of things. I like to study this stuff, and when I learn something new, I like to share it, and that's what we do. But I am not, I would need a PhD to consider myself an anthropologist.
Well, I only took anthropology and sociology in high school, and we had an amazing teacher, oddly enough, called Mr. Trump. No relation. Not that I know of. But I shouldn't say was, he still is. I'm pretty sure he's still around, but what an amazing teacher. And he was there for years.
Cool.
So, yeah, quite an amazing guy.
So that's it for War Bonnet. And then we're going to head south. No, sorry, Crawford is east. Yes. Crawford is east. And it's about 3 miles east of Fort Robinson. I don't actually know how long it takes to get from War Bonnet to Crawford. It's not that far.
No, it's not that far.
It really isn't.
Given that the weather's good.
Yeah. And
it could be far.
Yeah. And the thing is, when I go out there, I end up driving around and getting lost, so it takes me longer to get back. Because when I go out there, Paul always asks me which way I'm coming back. I'm like, I don't know, I'll let you know. Because I get lost when I'm out at War Bonnet. So I might come back down south and come past Agate, or I might end up at Fort Rob and then come,
Yeah, because it has that weird kind of go around.
Yeah.
Where it's almost a circle, not an actual circle, but like you just go around in circles.
Yeah.
If you're not careful.
And, so I never know what way I'm coming back. And there's not really cell signals up there, so please don't tell me use GPS on my phone. One, I don't like doing that because half the fun is getting lost and finding cool things. And two, there's not really signals up there.
Not a whole lot. They've gotten a little bit better over the years. I mean, since.
But if you think where War Bonnet and Montrose are, there's no need for signals up there.
No.
Yeah. So.
And the ranchers have always had their ways back then, especially. I know even in Harrison they had party lines. For those who don't know what a party line is, it's a
we
line.
had one.
It's a line where you can talk to multiple people on the phone. So, and of course, usually the housewives were doing it. Martha, did you hear this? Sally, did you hear that? And they were in use in Harrison, according to my husband, almost up until he was a kid. I shouldn't say kid, but I should say like 5-10 years old maybe. He would have to be more specific, but they were still there well into the 90s. Yeah.
I can tell you late 70s, early 80s, my grandma's phone was still part of a party phone. And every now and then we would pick up the phone and someone was on it talking. And we would have to, and there was nothing we could do. We would just have to hang up and wait for them.
That's how party lines work. You can't, you either listen in on the conversation, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Sometimes to do. But yeah, you had to wait your turn to get to where you needed to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then once they were done, they hung up, you could pick up the phone and dial somebody. And I remember like 81, 82, my grandma's phone was still like that. And at some point in time, they updated some technology and then that stopped.
I remember a time when you couldn't use the internet and the phone at the same time.
Yes.
The good old dial-up days. Or worse, when your sister wanted to talk to her boyfriend or something, or a friend or anybody, and you were on the internet trying to get stuff done or just trying to play.
And then all of a sudden,
and that thing blacks out and you get so mad.
Oh, yeah.
And I did. I got very mad.
Something those youngins will never experience.
No, and parents don't get to appreciate anymore, because if you were mad at your kid back then, you didn't have
you
to
just
say
picked
get
up the
off.
phone.
Yeah, you just say get off the internet. It's get off the internet now.
Yes,
you just pick up the phone.
Yeah, it wasn't give me the phone, give me the phone, give me the phone, give me the phone. It was just pick up the phone, hang it up,
and hang it back up, and then you have to start the whole dial-up process all over again. And it was never quiet, so you couldn't sneakily do it because it made that terrible meow sound.
Yes. Yeah, there was no quiet way. No. I was happy in, 99, when cable started coming out and you could just be connected all the time. That was super awesome. Then you never had to make that noise ever again. And we waited a couple of years.
Never hear it ever again.
Yeah, unless
that would be a haunting right there. If I went to Crawford or some of these places and heard that
the dial-up sound,
I might start believing in ghosts, or at least ghosts in the machine.
So in Crawford, it's about 3 miles east of Fort Robb. The Ranch House restaurant is supposedly haunted. Apparently there is a black soldier's ghost that has been seen in the basement of the ranch house. I know the person who can tell me this story. I just haven't been able to get a hold of her. So maybe one day in the future we'll do a story on the ranch house and get the whole story. But there is also supposed to be a ghost that hangs out in the kitchen, clanging pots, breaking cups, that kind of stuff. I'm just told in general that Crawford is haunted everywhere. But the ranch house,
just like Alliance. But unlike Alliance, I do not find Crawford appealing at all. It is an ugly town. It doesn't make any sense. It's higgledy-piggledy, and it's dirty. Sorry, Crawford.
Yeah, I don't understand the town layout either.
I never did.
Yeah.
It was so bizarre. One of the most bizarre layouts I've ever seen.
It's weird. But I love the food at, I think it's like Irene's Cafe or something. It's got my name in it.
Okay.
And everybody goes there for ice cream, but they also have hot food. And I didn't go last year, but I usually go up right around the time of the Cheyenne breakout. And I will sit outside of the barracks and eat a burger and fries. Just kind of a thing I do. I didn't get up there last year. And I just like their food. They're supposed to have really, really good pulled pork, but I don't like pork. So I did try the pulled pork, and I'm like, yeah, this tastes like crap like every other pulled pork. And that's not an insult to anybody's pulled pork. I just don't like it. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure most of the Muslim and Jewish community would agree with you.
There you go.
So you're not alone.
But everybody tells me that it's great. So now we're going to head all the way south back down here to Scottsbluff to the monument. The Scottsbluff National Monument is reportedly haunted. I don't believe in ghosts, but when I was writing that book about the monument's 100-year history, I had access to some documents that the general public doesn't get access to. And I'm not going to spill the beans too much, but I do know how many suicides have been committed. at the monument, and they also have a track of how many people were killed there, like when they were building the roads and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Some dudes
Probably,
died. Yeah. There have been some other people that accidentally fell off. There's, if you go to the monument, you can see where if you're not paying attention.
It's very easy to do.
It is.
It's very easy to do.
It is. So I've heard the story more than once that a female apparition wearing white walks around the base of the monument, but only around midnight and only during the end of July and beginning of August. So,
which to my knowledge, you're not allowed to be out there at midnight, are you? Just wandering around, or is the trail always open? Not
up top, but technically you can wander on the property. They don't encourage it.
Well, I mean, I see people do their morning walks. I used to go up at
no.
4 o'clock
I mean,
in the morning
not
to do
like
their walks. So
like not on the trails, but I mean around the property of the monument.
Oh, gotcha.
But they just don't encourage it because it's not necessarily safe.
No, especially around midnight.
Yeah. So, and I'm sleeping at midnight.
Yeah, if you want to go and trip and break your ankle, go be my guest.
Yeah. And as much as I would like to go see, does this female apparition really exist? How many nights do I have to be up at midnight before this is going to happen?
Right.
If it was
once you start getting sleep deprived, you'll probably start seeing her.
Yeah. And if they said, it's, the end of July and beginning of August, if they then qualified it with, but only on Tuesdays at midnight, well, then I'm going to go out there and see if I can see her. But, I'm not wasting my time. I'm sleeping. I've also heard reports that you can sometimes see a man that is supposed to be Hiram Scott, who the monument is named after. I think that's just convenience.
Well, didn't we discuss that Hiram Scott did not die anywhere near the monument?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. And we're still waiting to do the monument episode in particular, because Jerry was a park ranger out there, and then he I forget how many years, and he'll probably kick me for that, many, many years. And then when he retired, it was 10 or 14 years that he volunteered out there. So I told him, I'm like, dude, we need to do a monument episode with you, because he can add so much more that we won't know. And he knows, he's actually working on a new thing about Hiram Scott, a new presentation he's going to give. So I'm like, definitely want him to come and talk. Yeah. So some folks have also said the ghosts of those who have committed suicide or fallen off the monument are here as well. I will read you this comment I found online. Summer of 2019, my boyfriend and I decided to go on a little cruise and have a late night bite on the old Oregon Trail by the Scotts Bluff sign. I don't know if she means I mean, is it the monument sign?
I would assume that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, and there's one on each side of Mitchell Pass, so I don't know which one they were on. We stayed in the car and parked to the side where out of nowhere I heard gunshots, very soft though. Soon after my man and I felt really weird, as if someone else was near or watching us. It was only us out there, so we drove away. Later, I hopped online to see what places in the Bluffs could be haunted and read that this place, the Old Oregon Trail, after midnight hours, people have seen an apparition of a woman in white. Yeah, I got creepy feeling all over again after I read that. Not going back after midnight. Okay, so if you know the location of the monument and you hear gunshots in the distance, you shouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
I'm not even surprised when I hear gunshots here in town, which every now and then will happen.
And my thought is, her and her boyfriend went out there. They probably weren't supposed to be out there. I'm just assuming a younger couple, whether early 20s or teens. So they're not sure if they're supposed to be out there at all. They hear some gunshots in the distance and they're like, oh crap, people are, and you start working yourself up and you're like, we need to get out of here.
Right.
It's that same feeling I had when I went into the Belmont Tunnel. because I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be there or not.
Right. It's like, I don't worried about ghosts. I'm worried about the ghost police.
Yeah, yeah. And so every sound I heard out there, I was like, oh my God, I freaked myself out, and it had nothing to do with ghosts. It was just, I'm not supposed to be here to begin with.
Yeah, and if I heard gunshots, just in general, I'm not freaked out, but I'm on the alert, especially if it's hunting season. I'm not wearing orange. I probably should, get out of there just for my own safety. So
yeah. So take that as you will. So my thought is they heard echoing gunshots from the area, got freaked out, and drove away. They then assumed it was a ghost, and they found information online to confirm their bias. But just for safety reasons, don't go out there after midnight. It's dark. Bad things could happen in general. It's natural land, so you could easily twist an ankle or put your foot in a snake hole or something.
Especially where they were at.
Yeah,
that's definitely some rough terrain.
Yeah, and no one's gonna come out and save you.
No.
And
if you go screaming, people are just gonna think you're another ghost.
Yeah, there you go. So don't do it. So then, if we head south on 71. Right? It's Highway 71 to Kimball? Yeah. So head south on 71 to Kimball, and we'll finish up at the Wheat Growers Hotel. Most people will say there's one ghost in the hotel. The apparition of a woman has been reported several times over the years. She is standing in an upper floor window and looking down on the street. One comment I read online said that they thought they saw something. When they looked closer, the woman was in the fourth top window from the front.
I guess I've never seen this place. Or it's not ringing a bell.
I've driven past it once, and I have to look it up online every time if I want to go to where it is, because I'm not as familiar with Kimball.
Well, there's not much to Kimball. That's why I'm drawing a blank. Where is it? Is it off the main street?
I think so. Huh. No one knows who this woman is supposed to be or what relation she has to the hotel, but some locals think she is affiliated with the speakeasy that was in the basement during Prohibition, which that's all over the place. Yeah. There were those little go in the basement on the east side of the street and go up, to the bar on the west side of the street, and you go under the street. That's happened in Scotts Bluff. It's Alliance used to give tours. That's all over the Panhandle. Speakeasy doesn't shock me at all.
Well, in your part of the world, there was wonderful speakeasy.
Yeah,
in New York.
Yeah. There is a tale of a young woman who got trapped in a tunnel and died there, but no one knows who the girl was or what she looked like. People are just making random connections. Like, oh, I heard about this girl, so that must be who she is. On the Haunted Places website, a comment says that there are more than one ghost in the hotel. This person claims the hotel is a portal. Not sure to where.
There's a lot of portals in this county.
Yeah, apparently Alliance and Kimball for sure, I guess. Yeah. And lost souls travel through there at regular intervals. So maybe that's how they're getting between Alliance and Kimball.
If they're lost, how do they know where the portals are?
There you go.
Sorry.
It's all right. So this person also said they would never set foot on the male floor or in the basement, but didn't elaborate further. And before I jump real quick to Wyoming, I used to work for a gentleman that did a story on this hotel, and he's supposedly a skeptic as well. And after he did that story, he was on the phone with me the whole way back from Kimball and was just like completely creeped out. He's like, there's something there. And I'm like, all right. Yeah, that was basically my end of the conversation. So that's Kimball. And I'm just going to jump for a moment into Wyoming because, we do go a little bit over the border into Wyoming sometimes, just because it's so close. At Fort Laramie National Historic Site, the fort was built in the 1800s, and there are supposedly several ghosts there. There's a ghost of a cavalry officer near Old Bedlam, which was the name of the bachelor's quarters. This officer tells people to be quiet. Now, that's a ghost I can get behind.
Right.
You know, you're talking to shut up. Museum employees call another ghost George. He likes to open doors and scare people with the sound of footsteps. At Reveille, people have reported hearing heavy bootsteps tromping along the boardwalk in front of the barracks. I don't know. To me, that one sounds more like, oh, my phone's going off. No, oh no, it's not. It's that ghost, that residual thing of you think you hear your phone going off and it's not.
Yeah, that's right. And their phone's not even in your pocket,
and
or you feel it vibrate.
Mm-hmm. And if you're there at the boardwalk there at the fort at the time of Reveille, you know, your mind can automatically just take you there of the folks running out of the barracks to line up at Reveille. At least that's what I think. One commenter on this ghost website, the Haunted Places website, wrote, "During a visit to Fort Laramie, I thought I saw a person in old military garb go around the corner of one of the buildings. I thought he must have been a tour guide, and I had a question about something else I saw. I ran around the corner, and no one was there. He had just disappeared." The question I wanted to ask him was about the Indians with torches I saw across the river. A real guide said that there were no Indian reenactors at the fort. I left there with a scary feeling about the thing I saw. I couldn't find anything about Indians, Native Americans, Lakota. You know, I plugged in all the search terms with torches, you know, and ghosts. There, I don't know what that is.
Why can't it just be a couple of native brothers or sisters that are just hanging out by the river?
Yeah, it could have been that too. It could have been actual ones.
And they have torches, so
yeah,
and there's no law against torches.
Yeah,
and if they're by a river, you know, it's not going to set nothing on fire.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
And I wondered as well. I've been out at the fort, and I think you have to cross the river, but it's a bit away from the fort. There's a little camping area there, so maybe that's what they saw. Who knows?
Yeah, it's almost a little insulting, don't you think? Because what if it was just real Native Americans hanging out? It's like, you guys are ghosts. They're like just looking at each other like, what?
If that was me and I was a actual live Native American, I'd be like,
oh yeah, I know a couple of friends who would definitely roll with that.
Just go right with it. Yeah.
Especially the elders. I think the elders would really have fun with that.
So I just want to do this other last one too, because I found this story really cool. I didn't know about it till I was doing some research on Fort Laramie, and this popped up. This is kind of creepy as a story. Don't believe it, but it is kind of creepy. So it's known as the Death Ship on the Platte River. Since the mid-1800s, a phantom ship has been seen on the North Platte River near Guernsey, Wyoming. I know it's a little past our normal coverage area, but this is neat. The first recorded sighting was in 1862 by Leon Weber, a fur trapper in the area. When people first see the ship, it appears as a fog over the river. Then the ship sails out of the fog. Those who have seen it say the mast and sails are covered in frost. So you got the image in your head now. People believe it's an omen of death, and whoever sees it will have someone close to them die that day. I guess you can see the ghostly crew working on deck as well around a body. The body is of a soon-to-be dead person. The crew moves back and forth to reveal the identity of the corpse, and when that happens, the person immediately dies. When Leon Weber saw it, the crew revealed that the body was his girlfriend, who died later that day. So that's creepy. Gene Wilson, a cattleman, saw the ship in 1887, and I'm going to quote from the website Only in Your State. Cattleman Gene Wilson was rounding up his herd near the river when his dog began barking wildly. Spooked, his horse wouldn't go near the riverbank and even tried to run away. After chasing down his horse, he tied him to a scrub pine and hiked a few yards to the river on foot. He is quoted as saying that what he saw set my nerves a-tingle. There, nearly motionless on the quickly moving current of the river, was a fully rigged sailing vessel that seemed to be formed of the frozen, sparkling mist that surrounded it. Again, the crew was on deck, but this time the captain motioned to them to lower a frost-covered piece of canvas that was suspended by ropes at its four corners. As the bundle reached the deck and a sailor drew the cloth back, Wilson's blood ran cold when he saw his wife's face on the corpse lying there. The ship vanished when he screamed in terror. Though he wasted no time in racing home, he found his home burned to ashes and his wife lying dead about 100 yards from the smoldering remains of the house. It would be another 25 years before the death ship was reported to be seen again. I guess they needed a house and a wife as a sacrifice. Another dude reportedly saw his friend. Victor Hebe had taken a smoke break from chopping firewood near the bank of the North Platte River. As he held a match to his pipe bowl, he noticed a bank of fog that appeared to come out of nowhere and slowly move down the river toward him. As it came closer, Hebe was amazed to see the swirling mist begin to take the form of a sailing ship covered in ice. A sail blocked Victor Hebe from getting a clear view, but he could see that there was a crew standing on deck. He could also hear voices. Hebe claims to have heard a man's voice asserting that he was innocent and another man's voice responding that they were only carrying out their duty. At that point, the sail blocking Victor's view was drawn up and the scene he witnessed was chilling. On the forward deck stood a gallows with a man's body hanging from it. At that point, with the ship less than 20 feet from the bank where Hebe stood, he got a direct look at the face of the man slowly swaying at the end of the noose. It was his best friend who had been tried and Hebe felt wrongly convicted of murder. The last Victor had heard, his friend had escaped from prison. He would later find out that the friend had been captured and put to death the same day Hebe encountered the death ship.
It is creepy.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of a pull. To my knowledge, it's not very wise to have sails on a river ship. For rather obvious reasons. Wind doesn't really work in your favor.
Yeah.
1 and 2, rivers only go 2 ways. Most of the times, the current will pull you.
Yeah.
And you don't need sails.
Yeah.
The reason we have sails is to push the ship forward. So it doesn't, like, if it was like a river ship, like the ones in Louisiana with the creepy smokestacks, or I don't know if you remember the Rescuers, the original one by Don Bluth, and they hung out in the bayou in an old ship, and it looked creepy.
Yeah.
It had those creepy smokestacks and the wheels, and I would think if something like that happened, maybe. Again, the North Platte River was wider at one point, but I don't know if it was ever wide enough for ships like that to be used properly.
Yeah, especially up there.
Yeah. I mean, I know they what did they call them? Cocking your wagons? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, cocking your wagons,
wagons, where they would put all the wagons in a raft-like device and float it across to the other side of the river. But usually even then, it would just go from one side of the river to the other side of the river. To my knowledge, it wasn't really common to go down the North Platte or actually use it. I could be wrong. It might have been used for log transports, which would have made sense.
Yeah.
I can maybe see that because of course I know the Mississippi does that,
but
Missouri does that, but a giant sailing ship.
Yeah, no, but it is kind of creepy.
It's creepy.
Yeah. So according to an article I read dated February 2015, that's the time of year you can see the ship. Sightings of the...
Why would you want to see a ship like that?
I wouldn't.
Like, why would you go after that?
I'm going to go look.
Like this is a ship you don't want to see.
Yeah.
So why would you go after it?
Yeah. Oh, it's February. Let's go look for the ship to see who I know is going to die today.
Right? It's just going to make me feel so good.
Yeah. Sightings of the death ship seem to also be close to the afternoon. So go in the morning and you're not going to see it. You're good. And there are also reports that autumn is the time of year the ship appears. So now you got autumn and February. Yeah, that's a few months. Just don't go looking for it, man.
That's kind of weird. Also, the 2 times a year where it's more likely to see mist and fog.
There you go. Don't try and take a picture, though. You will either get a solid gray picture or a white haze surrounded by fog. That was from the Only in Your State website. I don't know where they got that from, but...
Why would you still not to try to take a picture?
Yeah.
Even if that's the result, I think I should still try.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to go look for the death ship, you might as well try and get some physical evidence of it.
Right.
You can go looking for it, if you're crazy enough, in the places it's been seen between Torrington and Alcova, Wyoming.
There's a lot of nothing between those two places.
Yeah, I know.
You'll be looking for a while.
According to the 95.5 My Country radio station, the ship has been seen in the last decade at Bessemer Bend, just west of Casper, and 6 miles southeast of Guernsey, and south and east of Casper. So there, I've narrowed it down to a few places you can go and see who you know is going to die today. So there you are. Go scare yourself silly. We'll be back next week with more interesting history stories. I have a history written about the 2 ladies that were former slaves. That's going to be our next episode. And hopefully you enjoyed us just rambling on about ghosts that we don't believe in. But, at least if you do believe them, I just gave you 3 episodes and about 4 hours worth of places you can go to.
You know what's weird is you mentioned just west of Casper, and I just realized that is there no hauntings in the town of Casper? Like the one place where it would be at least kind of funny if there
Casper.
was hauntings in Casper, but
oh gosh, that would be funny.
It's the only place with no ghosts. Casper, go figure.
And I didn't really look in the cities. I came across this story as I was looking for something else, and I was like, you know what? It's close enough. I'm going to do it.
Well, it's kind of, not to just do a little bit of a side note. You ever heard of that chair that kills people while you sit on it? And it's so revered now that the chair you're not allowed to sit on it. It's actually... in the museum, it's propped up on the ceiling at an angle, and I think
so you
it's
can't sit on
it. You cannot sit on it. There's been so many reports, of people dying after they sit on this chair.
Oh my God!
So weird. It's bizarre. Now, of course, the skeptic in me, it's like, why aren't you donating that to the nearest penitentiary? It seems like that would be pretty ethically, at least,
Yeah. Here, sit down. Let's have a chat.
Sit down, have a chat. Well, here's a chair on death row. Never mind. You comfy?
Yeah.
Okay, you can get off now.
Yeah.
I'll be completely confused.
Now, see, something like that, I am a complete skeptic, but I also do not want to test it.
Well, and that's why it's up there, apparently, because there was skeptics who tried it and ended up dying. So
I'm good.
It's one of those things, the same thing. It's just like, well, it's not necessarily I believe in it, but there might be something I'm not getting.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Wow. All right, well, hopefully everybody enjoyed our little musing here. We tried to make it a little more lighthearted, not too serious, and, I didn't know how much we were going to debunk as we went along, but every time I kept reading something out loud, I'm like, really? Oh.
It's hard. It's hard for us because we are very, very skeptical and have every right to be.
And if you want to get scared and be spooked and stuff, Seth Andrews, every year around Halloween time, he releases several short, 10, 15-minute things with ghost stories. Mm-hmm. And Seth has the voice to do those.
He does have a very...
so if you want to go and get really scared, he does that. But they're ghost stories from everywhere. I just stuck to the Panhandle because it's where we live. So come back next time and listen to me. I'm Irene.
I'm Connor.
and this is Storytelling on the Plains.